I watched through my childhood bedroom window as my mother walked my boyfriend to my sister's door, and 20 minutes later, they came out holding hands. The ring was still in my nightstand drawer. I know because I checked twice after I saw them standing together on Christy's front porch, his hand on the small of her back in that way that used to be mine. The small velvet box sat exactly where Derek had nervously placed it 3 weeks ago, asking if I wanted to hold on to it until he could plan the perfect proposal. I'd laughed then, kissed him, told him I didn't need perfect, I just needed him. Now I was standing in my childhood bedroom at 43 years old, unemployed, recently evicted, and watching the man I loved smile at my younger sister the way he used to smile at me. And my mother, my own mother, stood between them like a proud officiant, her hand on Christy's shoulder, nodding with satisfaction. That's where this story really begins, but let me back up. My name is Margaret Sullivan, and I need to tell you what my family did to me. Not because I want pity, not because I'm bitter, but because for 30 years I convinced myself that love meant sacrifice, that being the strong one meant swallowing pain, and that good daughters don't complain when they're being drained dry. I was wrong. And if you've ever been the daughter who gave everything while your sibling took everything, you'll understand why I'm finally speaking up. It started the way these things always start, small, almost invisible. I was 7 when Mom first called me her little helper. Christy was 4, and she'd had pneumonia that winter. Bad enough for the hospital, bad enough that Mom spent 3 weeks sleeping in a chair beside her bed, while Dad worked double shifts to cover the bills. I stayed with Grandma Dorothy, learning to make grilled cheese and fold laundry and be very, very quiet. When they came home, something had shifted. Christy was delicate now. Christy needed extra sleep, extra attention, extra everything. And I was strong, capable, the one who didn't need much. Margaret, honey, can you grab your sister's juice? Margaret, let Christy have the front seat. You know she gets carsick. Margaret, we can't afford dance classes for both of you this year. You understand, right? Christy's already so committed. I understood. I always understood. By the time I was 16, I was working 20 hours a week at the Piggly Wiggly on Route 9, saving money for college while Christy got a new wardrobe for sophomore year. Mom said it built character. Dad said I was mature for my age. Christy said nothing, just wore her new clothes and posted pictures with captions like blessed and family is everything. I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I was stronger. I told myself that being needed was the same as being loved. But late at night, lying in my room listening to them laugh together downstairs, Mom and Christy, watching their shows, sharing their secrets, I'd feel something dark and heavy pressing against my chest. It felt like drowning in a room full of air. I met Derek Callahan when I was 41. By then, I'd spent 2 decades doing everything right. Bachelor's degree in accounting, paid for entirely by myself through loans and night shifts. Decent job at a mid-sized firm in Columbus. Paid off my student debt by 38. Helped Mom and Dad with their property taxes when Dad's hours got cut. Sent Christy $200 when her car broke down, even though she never paid me back. I was single, obviously. Not because I was unlovable, though I'd started to wonder, but because I'd spent my 20s and 30s being available for everyone else's emergencies. Mom's knee surgery, Dad's diabetes scares, Christy's divorce, Christy's custody battle, Christy's really hard time right now, Margaret, please. But Derek felt different. We met at a charity 5K, one of those small-town events where everyone knows everyone, and the finish line is in the high school parking lot. He was a teacher. 9th grade history. Divorced, no kids, kind eyes, the sort of guy who still held doors open and remembered your coffee order. He asked me to dinner, then breakfast, then to meet his friends. For the first time in my life, I felt chosen. Not needed, not useful, chosen. We dated for 18 months, slow and sweet. He'd come over on Sundays and we'd cook together, simple things, pasta and salad, nothing fancy, and he'd tell me about his students and I'd tell him about my week. He never made me feel small for caring about grocery prices or using coupons. He called me beautiful when I was in my rattiest sweatpants. When he told me he loved me, I believed him. When he said he wanted forever, I believed that too. Then I lost my job. Corporate downsizing, nothing personal. 22 years of service, and I got a severance package and a handshake from a man who'd never bothered to learn my name. I tried not to panic. I had savings, I had Derek, I'd find something else. But the market was bad. Applications went unanswered. Interviews led nowhere. My savings dwindled. Then my landlord sold the building, and my rent jumped $600 a month. I couldn't make it work. So I did what I'd always done. I called home. Mom, I hate to ask, but... Oh, honey. Her voice went soft in that way that used to comfort me. Of course you can come home. You know your room's always here. I should have known better. I should have heard the edge beneath the sweetness. But I was tired, scared, 43 years old and moving back into my childhood bedroom, and Derek promised it didn't matter, that we'd figure it out together, that he loved me regardless. I wanted so badly to believe that someone finally loved me regardless. Christy still lived in town, 10 minutes away in a cute rental house with a front porch and flower boxes. She worked part-time at a boutique, posting Instagram photos of her outfits and her self-care Sundays and her gratitude journals. She'd never had to worry about money, not really. Mom and Dad had given her the down payment for her first car, paid her security deposit when she left her husband, covered her health insurance, sent her grocery money when things got tight. I'd never asked why they didn't help me the same way. I was strong, remember. I didn't need it. But when I moved home that October, something felt off. Mom started inviting Christy over, a lot. Sunday dinners, coffee on Wednesday mornings. Girls' nights that I wasn't included in until the last minute, and even then I felt like an afterthought. And she started asking questions about Derek. How's Derek handling all this? Does he mind that you're between things right now? Men need stability, Margaret. You know that, right? I laughed it off. Derek wasn't like that. But then she started saying things in front of him. Little comments, casual observations. Margaret's always been such a worrier, even as a kid. She takes things so personally. You know. Christy's more easygoing, resilient. I'd see Derek's face shift, just slightly, a flicker of doubt. And I'd feel that old drowning feeling creeping back in. It was a Tuesday in November when I saw them together. I'd gone to the grocery store, Kroger, the one near the interstate, and I was loading bags into my trunk when I saw Derek's car pull into the lot. He wasn't alone. Christy was in the passenger seat. I froze, actually froze, one hand on a gallon of milk, the other gripping my keys hard enough to leave marks. They didn't see me. They were laughing. He reached over and tucked her hair behind her ear. The milk slipped from my hand and exploded on the asphalt. I didn't confront them. I didn't scream. I got in my car, drove home, and sat in the driveway for 40 minutes trying to breathe. When I finally went inside, Mom was in the kitchen making tea. Oh, good, you're back. Christy's coming for dinner. I saw her, I said quietly, with Derek. Mom didn't even blink. They ran into each other at the coffee shop. Isn't that nice? She mentioned he's been stressed about you, poor thing. Stressed about me. Well, honey, she poured hot water over a tea bag, slow and deliberate. You have to admit this isn't what he signed up for. A woman his age, unemployed, living with her parents. I'm 43. I lost my job. I'm trying. I know you are. Her voice was so gentle, so patient. But Christy mentioned he seems sad lately, and you know how much pressure you put on yourself. Maybe it's not fair to him. I felt something crack inside my chest. Are you saying I should break up with him? I'm saying you should think about what's best for everyone, she smiled. Christy's been through so much, she deserves happiness, and Derek's such a good man if he's having doubts. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't have to. They started dating, officially 2 weeks later. Derek came over on a Sunday, the same Sunday we used to spend together, and sat me down in the living room. Mom and Dad conveniently had errands to run. "Margaret, I care about you so much." He couldn't look at me, but I think we both know this isn't working anymore. "Because I lost my job." "Because," he exhaled, "your mom made me realize some things about what I need, stability, a partner who's together. Christy's really got her life figured out and Christy lives off our parents. That's not fair." "It's true. Look," he finally met my eyes. "Your mom thinks Christy's better suited for me, and honestly, I think she's right. Christy's stronger, more independent." I laughed. I actually laughed. It was that or scream. "Get out. Margaret. Get out." He left, and 20 minutes later, I watched from my bedroom window as he knocked on Christy's door. She answered in a sundress, in November. Mom pulled up 10 minutes after that, and I watched my mother walk my ex-boyfriend into my sister's house. I didn't leave my room for 2 days. On the 3rd day, Dad knocked softly. "Margaret, you okay, sweetheart?" I opened the door. He looked tired, older than I remembered. "Did you know?" I asked. He sighed. "Your mother thought." "Did you know?" "She thought it would be better for everyone if Derek ended up with Christy. She said you'd understand eventually, that you'd want your sister to be happy." "And what about me?" He looked at his shoes. "You've always been the strong one, Margaret." I closed the door in his face. That's when I started digging. I'm an accountant, was an accountant, numbers are my language. And I started noticing things. Old bank statements in Dad's office, tax returns, college fund documents. I'd been told my entire life that there was no money for my college, that I'd have to take loans, that they'd help if they could, but things were tight. But there was a fund, a college fund, $47,000. In my name. Opened when I was 2 years old, funded by my grandparents before they died. And it was empty. Every cent had been withdrawn over the years. Tuition payments to state schools, living expenses, books. For Christy, my college fund had paid for Christy's education. The room spun. I sat there in Dad's office, surrounded by paperwork, and I felt something inside me finally, irreversibly break. Not break like shatter. Break like a bone that had been bent wrong for years and finally snapped into its correct position. I wasn't the strong one. I was the convenient one. I didn't confront them right away. I spent 3 weeks planning, documenting, thinking. Because here's what I realized. They expected me to swallow this, the way I'd swallowed everything else. They expected me to be hurt, maybe cry a little, then eventually come around and be happy for Christy. They expected me to disappear quietly. So I didn't confront them. I left. I packed my things on a Wednesday morning while they were out. I took my documents, my laptop, my grandmother's jewelry that Mom had borrowed and never returned. I left a note on the kitchen table. "I know about the college fund. I know what you did. I'm done being the strong one." And I drove to Cincinnati. I had a friend there, Rachel, from my old firm. She let me crash on her couch while I figured things out. I filed for unemployment, applied for jobs, started seeing a therapist who used words like scapegoat and parentification and narcissistic family system. It felt like learning a new language. Mom called 47 times in the first week. I didn't answer. Christy sent texts. "Mom's really upset. Why are you being so dramatic?" I blocked her number. Dad sent one email. "Please come home. We can talk about this." I didn't respond. But I did do one thing. I filed a civil suit. For the college fund, the money that was mine, that they'd stolen and given to Christy. My lawyer said we had a case, a good one. The lawsuit took 11 months. In that time, I got a new job. Junior position, less money than before, but it was mine. I got my own apartment, small, 1 bedroom, but the lease was in my name and I paid my own rent. I started running again, cooking again, laughing again. I went on a few dates, nothing serious, I wasn't ready. But I was learning something important. I didn't need to be needed. I just needed to be free. The case settled out of court. They didn't have $47,000 anymore. Christy had spent it, but they agreed to a payment plan, monthly installments, legally binding. Mom tried to call after the settlement. I let it go to voicemail. Margaret, please, this is tearing the family apart. Christy's devastated. She didn't know. I deleted it halfway through. Because here's the thing, Christy did know. Maybe not all of it, but enough. She knew I was working my way through college, while she partied on someone else's dime. She knew I sent her money when she asked. She knew Derek was mine. And she took him anyway. Because that's what she'd been taught. Margaret gives, Christy takes. That was the family system. And I'd finally stepped out of it. I heard through mutual acquaintances that Derek and Christy got engaged. Spring wedding, small ceremony, Mom was over the moon. I felt nothing. Okay, that's not true. I felt relief. Because I could finally see it clearly. Derek didn't leave me because I wasn't good enough. He left me because my mother convinced him I wasn't. And he was weak enough to believe her. I dodged a bullet. Then, 6 months after their engagement, I got a phone call. From Christy. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Margaret, her voice was small, shaky. What do you want? I need to talk to you. I don't think. Derek called off the wedding. I went quiet. He said, she was crying now. He said he realized I'm not who he thought I was, that I'm too dependent, that I don't have my life together. He said Mom convinced him I was stronger than you, but I'm not. I'm not, Margaret. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, I just felt tired. I'm sorry that happened to you, Christy. Mom said, she hiccuped. Mom said you poisoned him against me, that you turned him. I haven't spoken to Derek in over a year. Silence. Christy, I can't help you. I'm not the strong one anymore. You'll have to figure this out yourself. I hung up. She didn't call again. A year later, I ran into Derek at a coffee shop in Columbus. He looked older, tired. Margaret. Derek. Awkward silence. I heard you're doing well. I am. That's good, that's really good. He cleared his throat. I wanted to say I'm sorry for how things ended. Your mom, I know what my mom did. I should have seen it. I should have trusted you. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I realized I didn't feel anything. No anger, no longing, nothing. I hope you figure out what you're looking for, I said. And I walked away. I'm 45 now. I haven't spoken to my mother in 2 years. I send Dad a card on his birthday. Christy and I exist in separate universes. Some people would call that sad, broken. I call it survival. Because here's what I learned. Being the strong one doesn't mean swallowing poison until you die from it. It means knowing when to walk away. It means understanding that some people will only love the version of you that serves them. And it means building a life where you're not the supporting character in someone else's story. I'm dating someone new. His name is Marcus. He's a librarian. Quiet, kind, steady. When I told him about my family, he didn't say, "But they're your family." He said, "I'm sorry they did that to you." That's how I knew he was different. Last month, I paid off the last of my student loans. I'm saving for a house. I'm learning to play piano, something I always wanted to do but never had time for. I'm learning that I'm enough. Not because I'm useful, not because I'm strong. Just because I'm me. If you're watching this, and you see yourself in my story, if you're the daughter who gives and gives until there's nothing left, I want you to hear this. You are not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You are not selfish for wanting more. You are not cruel for setting boundaries. And you are not weak for walking away. Being strong doesn't mean enduring abuse. It means choosing yourself, even when everyone around you says you shouldn't. I spent 43 years being the daughter they wanted. Now I'm learning to be the woman I needed. And if that makes me the villain in their story, I can live with that. Because for the first time in my life, I'm the hero in mine.